Another Wednesday and another Twab. This Twab is detailing all the nerfs to certain weapons that are coming in Lightfall. So let's go through it for Season 20. In the Season 19 mid-season balance update, we brought in several changes to address weapons in PvP. In Season 20, with new campaign and raid incoming, we focus on substantial pass over heavy weapons for PvE and adding subclass verbs to several exotic weapons, tying in with the new anti-champion capabilities these verbs now have. Between the new weapon changes and everything else that's new or changing in Lightfall, we're looking forward to seeing what combinations players settle on for the legendary campaign in the Day 1 raid. Weapon archetype. When playing on console, your reticle will turn red when it's over an enemy that's inside your weapon's effective range. This is a useful visual aid that we've wanted to be global for a while, so we've also enabled this on PC. In a future season, we'll be making this color customizable similar to the base reticle color. Red reticle is now enabled on PC. That's great. Oh boy, linear fusion rifles. We've been talking about this for a while now. We knew this nerf was incoming. You probably saw this coming. Yes, we have. Linear fusion rifles outperform other heavy weapons for boss damage by a wide margin and have had plenty of time in the sun. We're bringing them down enough for other options to compete. At the same time, exotic heavy linear fusion rifles don't do enough to justify using one over a legendary, so they're not affected by this nerf. Okay, that's great. Reduce damage versus champions, mini bosses, and vehicles by 15%. Sleeper Stimulant and Queenbreaker are unaffected. Sleeper fans, this is not a drill. Machine guns have been buffed a few times over the past year or so only in PvE. We've opted to increase their base damage a little, which makes them more forgiving to use in PvP. The buff also applies across the board in PvE. PvP damage is typically the base and PvE has multipliers on top of that. We're also substantially increasing machine gun reserves, giving them higher uptime, particularly useful in hard content. Oh, that's great. More reserves, so less reliant on Aeon safe during GMs and stuff. That's pretty good. Increased damage by approximately 10% with the following effects on time to kill against a Guardian with tier 6 resilience. High impact frame TTK reduced from 0.67 to 0.5. Rapid fire frame TTK reduced from 0.5 to 0.47. Adaptive frame TTK is unchanged at 0.53. Increase reserve amount by 50% at 0 inventory stat and 20% at 100 inventory stat. Note, inventory stat is a 0 to 100 value behind the scenes. This is presented as the actual number of rounds in game, but you can take this to mean that low reserves machine guns get a big boost, while large reserves machine gun get a smaller boost. Heavy grenade launchers. Heavy grenade launchers haven't been touched in a while and are substantially below some other heavy options for damage. On top of that, grenade launcher projectiles have travel time, a ballistic arc, and relatively small blast radius, so it can be hard to consistently land shots on a moving target, and they may hit fewer targets with the explosion than you'd expect. With this change, heavy grenade launchers should be significantly most useful in PvE and easier to use in both PvE and PvP. Okay, increased damage versus champions, mini bosses, and vehicles by 20%, miners by 40%. Improved projectile collision, making it slightly easier to land hits. Increased blast radius by 1 meter. Parasite is unaffected. It does huge damage already. Yes, that's for certain. Heavy grenade launchers are in the play now. I hope we see a rocket launcher buff in here too, but I feel like they're going to be unchanged. We got to see. Let's keep reading. Shotgun. And the new shotgun reticle show the correct spread pattern, but in the shipping form, the size of the reticle wasn't affected by the current spread angle, which will change if you jump, or with the magazine options like smoothbore. This change should make the reticle accurate in most ways at 85-degree field of view. A change to make this accurate in all FOV options will come in a future season. Shotgun reticles now change in size proportional to spread angle. Related note, the Legend of Accurate's hipfire reticle is now a bit more representative of its very large spread angle. Kinetic weapons. Kinetic slot weapons have always done 5% more damage versus unshielded targets in PvE. This means that kinetic slot stasis weapons were straight up better. Oh, I didn't even know that. With extra functionality and no downside. I actually did not know that. We wanted to give players more of a reason to run kinetic damage type weapons, so instead of a blanket kinetic slot damage boost, we're switching to a kinetic damage type boost based on whether your kinetic weapon uses primary or special ammo. Okay, that's good, and increases bonus significantly. Kinetic primary weapon damage multiplier increased from 1.05 to 1.1, so a little bit of an increase. Kinetic special weapon damage multiplier increased from 1.05 to 1.15, a larger increase there. Kinetic slot stasis weapons no longer have 5% damage bonus versus unshielded targets in PvE. There's also a kinetic damage type perk coming in Lightfall. Yeah, that was with the Phantomite. I think that goes in the leggings. I think we read that before last week or 2 weeks ago. Exotics. Just like many players, we wanted exotic weapons that have a strong theming around their damage type to use the real subclass 3.0 verbs, and Lightfall's longer development and playtest cycle gave us the opportunity to add subclass verbs to many of the top picks. Our goal with adding subclass 3.0 verbs is to grant these weapons additional functionality. and let them tie into subclass builds in a more meaningful way. In most cases, this is our hefty buff. The Queenbreaker's blinding effect was underwhelming for a heavy weapon, so we've changed now that's deployed. Note that the Queenbreaker was not also affected by the global damage reduction to linear fusion rifles, making it substantially stronger by comparison. Shot now chains to nearby enemies and uses Arc 3.0 blind. Ruinous Effigy feels very voidy, and slamming the Transmutation Sphere was an obvious place to put an additional effect. Transmutation Sphere Slam now suppresses. Holy. The Leviathan's Breath buff from a few seasons back inadvertently reduced the PvP damage enough so that it could no longer one-hit players in their super with a headshot. We fixed that, but also added Volatile and increased the damage versus champion substantially to highlight its anti-champion role. Now applies Volatile on perfect draw impact. Increased damage from 396 to 442. This allows it to one-hit kill all supers in PvP, holy Christ. Increased damage versus champions by 30%, okay. 1000 Voices was briefly a top pick in Season 14, but has been eclipsed by other options since then. We wanted to lean even more into a chain of solar explosions by adding Scorch, and with the global heavy weapon changes, it's also a strong option if you have Ember of Ashes equipped. Landing a full burst on a single target will trigger an ignition immediately. Exact results may vary depending on whether other players are also scorching a target. Each explosion now applies 10 plus 5 with Ember of Ashes scorch stacks. Sunshot was a top candidate for applying solar subclass verbs, and the explosions are the clear place to add to. Explosions on kill now applies 10 plus 5 scorch stacks with Ember of Ashes. Polaris Lance also had a burn effect, so it was an obvious change to switch this to scorch. Perfect 5th shots now apply 40 plus 20 scorch stacks instead of a custom burn. Two-Tailed Fox had tough competition as in a heavy exotic weapon, but now is the only weapon that can apply subclass verbs with multiple damage types without extra steps. Solar Rocket now applies 60 plus 30 stacks of burn. The Void Rocket already applies suppress, and the Catalyst completes the trifecta. Prometheus Lens has utility with his Solar 3.0 work, but you wanted to give it something more spectacular on kills in addition. Added the Incandescent perk to the Catalyst. Oh, okay. Grand Overture latest buff increased the missile damage by 50%, bottled up plenty. It just needed its blind update to tie into Arc 3.0. Yeah, we were all waiting for that. Switch the Catalyst to use Arc Blind. That's good. Hipfire Reticles. We're starting to experiment with Hipfire weapon reticles conveying more information, and use the Manticore as a test bed for this. You can expect to see more weapon types or exotic weapons functionality showing up in Hipfire Reticles in Season 21 and beyond. Added a reticle element to the Manticore showing current stacks of Anti-Grav Repulsor. With Strand coming to the game along with the new Strand weapon damage perk, we've added a couple of older perks. Osmosis now works with Strand. Elemental Capacitor now has the following effect when using a Strand subclass. 20 plus airborne effectiveness, 25 for the enhanced perk. Rewind rounds will be appearing on more weapons in Lightfall, but was custom built to only work with the Vault Glass weapon set. We've tweaked it to be more general purpose. Rebuilt to work on non-Vault Glass weapons. Eager-Etch has had some bugs that needed addressing in the previous release. We've now taken the time to do more complete rework, which also let us reduce or remove most of the restrictions that were in place. Oh no, please don't do this. Please don't do this. No longer deactivates when moving faster than 35 milliseconds. Meters per second, I'm an idiot. Deactivates correctly after a single melee swing. Reduce the base lunge distance buff from 2 to 1.8. Oh, come on. Reduce the airborne lunge distance penalty from 25% to 20%. The enhanced perk now increases lunge distance slightly back up to 2. Oh, okay, so that's fine. I mean, you do have to get the enhanced perk, so. Blinding grenades on grenade launchers don't do arc damage, so it's appropriate for them to trigger Arc 3.0 blind effects. We didn't feel the need to change their disorienting effect though, so we've updated the name to overlap less. Renaming blinding grenades to disorienting grenades. Vice Stinger is one of the most desirable origin traits in the game, yes, particularly, but not only on linear fusion rifles, yeah, to the point where it makes it hard for non-Vice weapons to compete. It just needed some adjustment. With this change, it's still valuable, but more in line with the other origin traits. This was typically a full reload when the perk activated. It now reloads 25% of the magazine. Oh, so a nerf to Vice Stinger as well. I actually did not see that coming, because it is more prevalent in LFRs, but since LFRs are getting a nerf, shoot, maybe there is a chance that we might get a Vice Rocket next season, and this might be the case. The future. We're already hard at work at Seasons 21 and 22, and some of the changes we're making include adding a full auto melee accessibility setting, which will apply to all forms of melee, a passover weapon type, and exotic weapon hipfire reticles, including increasing how visibly they change even at high FOV, and adding features like charge meters and exotic perk counters. We've also got balance changes in the works, but a little too early to get into them. We'll have more information to share post Lightfall. Boys, this is crazy. We're getting a whole bunch of nerfs, some buffs, you know, here and there, but I think the thing we can take from this is LFRs are getting nerfed 15%. Grenade launchers are getting buffed 20%. Vice Stinger is getting nerfed so that only 25% of the mag gets re-put in your magazine instead of the full thing. And I think that is the thing to take away from all this. Other exotic LFRs will not get changed, it's mainly the legendary LFRs. So I think from here on now, grenade launchers might be a great contender for DPS, considering they're getting a 20% buff. We will have to see the day Lightfall comes out after we run the campaign on stream. We'll go do some damage testing versus some grenade launchers and versus the Hothead, right? Because I mean, Hothead is the top DPS right now. I think it is pretty similar to Hezen Vengeance. If not, it's like on the same level of Hezen Vengeance damage. If I'm not mistaken, you will be able to focus the Hothead next season. So make sure to grind your Nightfall Engrams, your Vanguard Engrams, because you're going to need that. Grenade launchers will definitely be a contender for DPS. So we will have to test that, and I'm sure other people are going to test that as well. So make sure to be on the lookout for that video in the coming weeks. Definitely when Lightfall drops, so be on the lookout. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is a big change. Tomorrow, obviously, we have the Twab, so I'm sure they're going to enlighten us on a bit more changes, maybe some subclass changes and some other stuff with how the game works right now. All those changes that are going to be coming season 20, we should get a bit more insight tomorrow. And then, yeah, I'm really enjoying these Wednesday, Thursday Twabs because, I mean, I know they have a lot of stuff changing, so it's only right to do it like this instead of making a 10-20,000 word essay every Thursday. That's going to be like a 40-50 minute video, so this is great how they're doing this. But yeah, this video should be out today on Wednesday, and tomorrow we got the top, so be on the lookout for that video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for the recent support, and we will see you guys in the next one.